Hello, I'm Jeremy Webster, website manager at the MRC, and welcome to Advanced Form PDF Remediation. So here we have a 4-page form that we're going to remediate. We've got a few elements not seen in the previous videos. For example, we've got some tables that we're going to work with. And we've got a number of sort of binary selection switches that we've got to set up. So let's get started. The thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the page bigger in my view. And first thing we want to do is prepare form. To prepare form means we're going to have the computer look at the most likely places to put form fields. Now, this document looks like it probably came out of Word, and we can see if it did by clicking File Properties. It should tell us what it was exported from. In this case, it says Adobe PDF Library, so it's not real specific on that. But application, we've got Acrobat PDF Maker 21 for Word. So this was an export from Word. Now, on an export from Word, a lot of times, if you use the Create PDF tool in it, it will tag the document. In most cases, if it's not a form, that's not a bad thing. But with forms actually have to be gone through in Acrobat Pro DC so that they can have the fillable form items. So tags that it created will just get in our way a lot of the time, or they will put in document sort of instructions or structure that can cause us havoc when we actually go through and start working with our tags. So I'm going to look here and see if this has any tags. And yep, it does. And in most cases, like I said, if this wasn't a form, this would be great to have. Unfortunately, because it's a form, we're going to want to retag it starting from the beginning. So I'm going to right click on tags and click delete tag. That will remove all the tags from the document. And just to be safe, I'm going to click my accessibility tab on the right side, click reading order, and I'm going to click clear page structure. Basically, I don't want to end up fighting it on the tag level because it already thinks that a document should be laid out a certain way. So once we've done that, get back in view here, we are ready to prepare forms. We come over on the right side in the toolbar, and we've got our prepare form button. Click that. To begin, select a file, scan a document, or start from scratch. So form field auto detection is on. That's good. We're just going to click start. And I'm going to get a prompt that the changes I've made need to be saved. And sure, we'll go ahead and save it. Replace it because we're overriding an older version. And it has dropped in form fields. So we're going to start looking at these form fields. First up, is this request for all remote work to be completed inside the state of Kansas? So if we look here in our list, if you remember from the earlier video, it has a tendency to drop text boxes in places that we don't want text boxes. We want other items. And this is one of those. It's a yes or no binary answer. It's not something you would fill in text for. So we want to delete those boxes out. Delete, select and delete. And what we really want here is a radio button. So that's the circle with the dot inside. I'm going to select that. I'm going to come to the line for yes, and I'm going to click there to drop the box, and I get a radio button choice. It has the group name, and it has the choice. So the group name could be, say, it's a request for remote work, completed inside the state of Kansas. What would be a good group name for this? Request for work inside Kansas. Our first answer would be yes. Now, do not click outside of this and close that. We want to keep that open so that we can add another optional button to the choice. If we close it, we'll end up going up here and making another button, and it will think that it's a separate item, and it's not. We want to click add another button right here. And then we'll automatically add another button to that group. See, we've got the same group name, and choice 2 is no. Now we can click outside. So you see here in the list, we've got the request for work, and we've got yes, no here. So I'm going to double click on one of the boxes, and you see that while we've got that information here, we don't have a tooltip. It doesn't automatically set you up with one. So I'm going to give it a tooltip, select yes or no. And it should carry over to both boxes. Okay. That's good. Now, since we created this item new, it's going to drop it at the bottom of the page, and we don't really want it there. Essentially, what happens is it will occur out of the normal order of the page. As you see there, it dropped this new item way at the bottom. So we want to move that up to the very, very top. So I'll close that up, and I'll click drag that. To the top of the page. If it'll let me. There we go. Okay, drop it right there. There we go. So now we have our binary choices right there. So we've got that set up. Now we're going to continue down. New request, modification to existing request, or extension of previous request. So this is the nature of the request being made. And again, this is 3 radio buttons. So let's go ahead and delete out these boxes, like so. Grab our radio button. Drop it there. And we're going to call this type of request. Choice 1, new request. Add another button. Drop it here. And choice 1, it's now modification to existing request. Oops. Another button. Extension of previous request. So those are our 3 choices. We click outside the box, and there we go. There's our type of request there. And we want to make sure we've got a tooltip. It's giving me a bit of weirdness here because it didn't separate it into different things. So we just want to select one of those. There we go. Doesn't seem like it kept the group name for it. That's okay. You'll have these kind of arguments with the application sometimes. There we go. So effectively, I got it to select one, and it understands that it's a group. But this is not a select yes or no. What we want for our tooltip here is select new request, modification to existing request, or extension of previous request. Make sure that carries across all 3. And it does. Now we'll close that. And again, this is occurring out of order. So we need to click, drag, and move it up. And we'll drop it right here. We're all nice and in order. Next one, request for remote work to be temporary or permanent. Same deal. Delete these out. And use our radio button. Request for remote work to be. Okay, so we'll make that the group name. Request for remote work to be. And you notice that I tend to cap like words like it's a title. You don't have to do that. I just tend to do that instinctively. Our choice one is temporary. Add another button. Choice here is permanent. Close it up. There we go. Check our tooltip. And so you notice that it carries over the tooltip from the previous set that you did. That can actually be helpful if you've got a lot of, say, select yes or no, or select the appropriate response, because remember, it's going to ultimately read them in here, temporary or permanent, because that's going to be text that is tagged, and the form field will come under it in the structure. So it will read temporary, and then they would select permanent, and then they would select. So it can be perfectly permissible to do select the appropriate response for a lot of things if you wanted to. But in this case, obviously, this doesn't match what we're doing at all. We need this to say something completely different. So I'm going to have it say select temporary or permanent. Check to make sure that that's on both. It is. And that's good. Close that up. Obviously, it's out of order, so we want that third in our order. Okay. Next up, type of remote work arrangement, occasional, temporary, or regular. And I bet that you know what we're going to do here. Delete out the boxes, grab a radial button, drop the first one, type of remote work arrangement. First one is occasional. Second one is temporary. And the third one is regular. Click outside. Click that to bring up the tooltip that we need to do. We can do select occasional, temporary, regular. Make sure it's the same across all three. It is. That's good. Come over here, close it up, and this occurs after request for remote work to be. And there we go. So now we're moving away from radial buttons for a bit, and we're getting into remote work employee information. These are your standard text fields, employee name, and WSU ID. So this is arranged in a list, and you can maintain the list if you want. In this case, really, a lot of times it does a very good job of setting these up automatically when it finds them in the system. General appearance. We always want the appearance to be auto on a text box, so it doesn't stick to like a 12-point font. If it had a 12-point font and the answer was too long, then there's a chance that not the entire answer wouldn't fit. If it's auto, it will adjust that font size so that it takes up the space differently. So in this case, employee name, WSU ID, and that's effectively what they're providing. It has it as item number 1. I can leave item number 1 on the tooltip. I am not going to leave item number 1. I'm going to take that off. Job title, check that it's auto. It is. Same thing. I'm going to take that 2 off. And now we're up to workload. Workload looks to be another set of radial buttons. And you'll notice that it didn't find one here. Just fine. Delete these out. And now we're going to set up radials. So grab our button, drop our first one. And the name for this will be workload FTE. Choice 1 will be up to 0.25, 1 to 10 hours. Add another button and drop it in there. We're going to call this one up to 0.50, 1 to 20 hours. And another button here. Up to 0.75, 1 to 32 hours. You notice that I'm kind of writing out the words there. And one more. $1.0, 40 hours or more. Got those in place. We want our tooltip. And on this one, I will go select the appropriate response, because that's a lot of responses to type out. Make sure that's on all 4. Okay. We've got that. That needs to go in its right place, and that goes under job title. So I'll close that. And drop it under number 2 here. That is a number 3. We could have the name of that be B3, like so. Now we'll have to go to the individual items to rename them all as 3, because if the name of the items change, it's going to break up the group, and we don't want that. There we go. So now everything should be in its group. Job title. Here's our switches. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. Everything's in place there. FLSA status, exempt, non-exempt. That's another series of radials. Radial buttons, not radials. Radials are tires. There we go. And we're going to drop that there. 4, FLSA status. Choice 1 is exempt. Add another button. Choice 2 is non-exempt. There we go. That finishes up that. Let's have a look at our tooltip. We can leave it at select or appropriate response. In that case, it carrying on isn't a bad thing. And that needs to be moved to the proper spot. Since we have a number there, it's pretty easy to see where it goes, right there. Department. And we're going to get rid of the 5 on the tooltip there. Other than that, it should be good. Leader. Now you notice that it did not find leader or assigned work site. It just passed them over for some reason. So we're going to go up and grab our text box item. And we're going to come down. Set it there, and we can adjust the size. We'll stretch it out here. Maybe about the same size as the one before it. Kind of goes a little bit over it, so I'm going to pull it down just a little bit. Remember, that's what we have the auto setting for, to take care of that. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. Appearance, see it says font size 12. We want that to be auto. And on our general, because it's not text 3, it is, the name would be 6 leader. Tooltip would just be leader. Got that one. And we need to move it into the appropriate spot, which is after 5. There we go, 6 leader. Now we're going to do number 7 the same way. Grab us a text box, drop it in the appropriate spot, resize it to make sense. There we go. Double click it on appearance, make sure it's set to auto. And under general, it says assigned work site prior to remote work. It is 7 assigned work site prior to remote work. The tooltip here is basically this without the number. So let's go ahead and copy that, drop it down there. That one's good. We're going to grab it and move it up. Going to go on to the next 8, requested alternate work location. We don't need number 8 in the tooltip. Appearance auto, good. Remote work start date. Auto's good. And we want to take the number off. Remote work end date or anticipated. We'll take off the number. Appearance is good. And finally down here we have remote work review. Remote work arrangements are to be reviewed prior to the anticipated end of remote work, if extending, and so on and so forth. So it asks for the remote work arrangement review date. So we're going to go over here and we've got the auto, that's set up good. We've got our general setting and looks good. We're going to do this as a formatted drop down. So I'm going to put a colon here and put format, month, day, year. Then I'm going to go to format, bring this up, click date, and find the month, day, year in the selections. Hit close. And our form fields for the first page are set up. So now we're going to move on to page 2. And page 2 here, you can see that Acrobat Pro DC did a really good job understanding that the tables open cells are actually meant to be fields to be filled out. It made one mistake here. It assumed that the space next to day of the week was meant to be filled out. Obviously it isn't, so we're going to delete that out. And over here, here's our page 2. These aren't really very specific. So Sunday, work hours and Sunday, and work location alternate, or WSU. It's sort of like they're there, but they're kind of a messy blob. So we just want to clean them up a little bit. And we would do it the same way. Now, with a table like this, the default for how a table is read is it's going to go left to right, row by row. Day of the week, work hours, work location. This would be a header row indicating what's to come underneath. Sunday, work hour Sunday, work location, Monday, so on and so forth. That's how it's logically going to read, just so you know. So I'm going to double click here. And I'm going to click general here, work hour Sunday. And name can be, say, there's a few things you could do here. You could say Sunday work hours. Do it like that. It can be the same tooltip. And auto's good. Go over here. Work location, alternate or WSU Sunday. Sunday work location. Alternate or WSU. Select it, paste it. So you kind of see that you can do it like that. And to speed up the process a little bit, you could actually copy and paste elements from one and go down instead of go left to right like this. So I could do it like this. I've got Sunday work hours listed like this. I can copy that. I can go underneath it to the Monday, V, change that to Monday, like that. Next one's Tuesday. I could do it like this. It's really whatever you find the most convenient. I tend to do a lot of copy and paste if I can, because it does save a lot of time to do that. So if I were to just grab, say, work hours, go to the next one down, I might delete Wednesday. I didn't copy paste the space, but that's okay. That. If I wanted to grab that space this time, come here. And now I've got my space. Okay. Come here. Kept Thursday. There we go. Because you copy the top one, so you don't have to write the whole line out. That's why that did that to me. Come here. Got Saturday. Bit of an extra space there. So we were able to effectively do it a lot quicker going down in the line than doing it the other way. So I can come over here. And I'd like this to actually be the tooltip as well. There we go. Come here. And I want to keep work location. There we go. Come to Monday. Delete everything before Monday out. And if I do it this way, I don't end up with something additional in there. Having to remove it. Do we have more than one space there? We do. There we go. Close. Open the next one, Tuesday. I believe I grabbed the space. I did. Okay. Here, same thing. You notice that all the names on this side are changing as I change them in the system. Okay, come here, drop that. That Wednesday, Thursday, There we go. Extra space. It's hard to stop yourself from hitting space when it's just a habit. Come to Friday. Just like that. Friday one more time. And Saturday. So there we go. The table has a little bit more specificity than it had before. So next we've got a really big field. Describe their required on-site duties, indoor expectations, travel, on-site meetings, travel participation, and specify them in the box or enter NA. So really we want to describe if there are required on-site job duties, indoor expectations. And you see it's got kind of part of it as the name, but it doesn't have that whole sentence. So we're going to go here. Describe required on-site job duties and or expectations. Okay. Appearance, auto. With these, there are a lot of people who have areas like this in forms, but what they've done here is they've provided a giant empty sort of box for this. A lot of people have lines, like they might have 3 or 4 horizontal lines in this section of the form field. And then they will have 3 or 4 form fields, one for each line, and it'll say line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. You're better off to have one big item like this than a bunch of little ones. And the reason is there's, if somebody with assistive technology is typing this into it and they're on, say, line 1, they're not going to have really any idea where to stop and go to the next line. There's really no command for that. So you're just better off to make one large box and set the font size to auto so that they can provide the answer and it'll get auto fit in the space on its own. Our next one is briefly describe expectations when and how the remote work will be performed. Just wanting expectations. And a lot of this is a pretty dense paragraph and they should get the general idea of what they're putting here or there. But we're going to go here and it's set to auto. And what do we want to call it? Describe expectations. We don't even need describes. Expectations of when and how remote work will be performed. Okay. Remote work and absences. Will be, let's see, absences will be managed. Expectations when how remote work and absences, remote work will be performed and absences will be managed. We'll do that. Okay. Next, identify information, security expectations. We'll call this information security expectations. The descriptive paragraph gives a very, very nice rundown of what that entails, so we're not going to retype all that. Font size is auto. Share any expectations leader has for troubleshooting and problem solving. Maintaining team participation and visibility. Identify if there are regular required meetings on site via Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or other technology. Okay. That's a big one. So let's think about that. Sharing the expectations leader has for troubleshooting. Leader expectations for troubleshooting, problem solving, team participation, visibility, required meetings. That pretty much sums that one up. Appearance auto. We're done with the form fields for that page. Now we go down to the third. Third page, we have another table. This one, much like the previous one, it sort of did row one, row one, row two, two, so on and so forth. And really what this comes down to is, this is kind of the core here, is what the item of equipment is. These elements all relate to the item of equipment. So what we'll do here is, for this, equipment item 1. Okay. And this will become item 2. Item 3. Item 4. And this one will become item 5. Okay, so we've got the equipment item, names and tooltip set up. The appearances should be auto. Yep, they are. Who issued or provided the equipment? Okay. Equipment item 1. Issued or provided by. Saying who supplied the item. We're going to go down the row with that. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. Okay, so we've got those set up. And the date provided. That's our next column. And we're going to call it date equipment item 1 provided. Now, since this is dates, we're going to use format. So colon, format, month, day, year. Format. Let's actually grab this sentence real quick there. format, date, month, day, year. Got that set up. Let's go to our second line. The reason I grabbed the additional from the tooltip instead of the other is that I can delete off the other, but still use the same general thing. So I can do this. I can delete out the format info here. This is item 2. This is item 2. And now I can keep that format running. So I copy it again. I'll go over to format, date, month, day, year, which I think I did up here too. Yep, I did. Go to row 3, general. Three, delete off the format stuff. 3, set the format. Okay, go on to row 4. Now you notice that if I go from one to the next, it's this text field properties will stay on whatever you were previously on. So actually I could go here and click date, select the format already, come over here. This is number 4. Take this off. And my format is already in place. I don't have to go over to format and establish it. And you can actually work back and forth, sort of daisy chaining through it like that. Like you start with the last page on one, start with the first page on the other. Date provided, row 5. This is item 5. Set our format, date, month, day, year. And that table is done. Let's go down and see what we have here. Describe any expectation of need and use in equipment. Gives a lot of examples. That's pretty simple. You see it with valid receipt or whatever. And what we're going to do, expectation of need and use of equipment. Highlight that, copy it, come down to the box. Here, general. Change it to say that. Make sure it's on auto. Yep, that's good. We're done with that. Move down. We have another table here on the next page. It's not an overly complex table. We've got another one of these that's erroneously, so we'll grab that and delete it. Acknowledgement, leader initials, employee initials. I read and understood, and these are initials. These are not actually signature boxes. These are text boxes. And that's okay. When we get to working in tags, this is basically a header column. And so we got a header row and a header column. And we'll look at that in further detail when we get into tags. Just something good to keep in mind now. And what does it say? Leader initials, have read and understand. That says it literally in the header, so we don't need that much lead in for it. So read and understand. Leader initials. Okay. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come over here. This is employee initials. Some of the fight of it, if you think about it from the perspective of someone using assistive technology, to use this is the way that this thing had set it up. It was going to read that same sentence to them at least twice. I have read and understood the remote work arrangement form. I have read and understood the remote work arrangement form leader initials. So I kind of try to avoid that. I like to indicate to them what it is related to. The header will help with that, but I don't like it reading long sentences to them twice in a row. So I try to make it smaller, sort of summarize it, or if it's obvious, like with the radio buttons. So you don't have to write out a bunch of stuff that it's going to repeat to them over and over again. It has to be tedious. I reviewed and understand my job duties. Okay. And reviewed and understand job duties. That would be your initials. Okay. And we'll come over here and do the same thing. Employee initials. These all should be auto since the system generated them. Yep. Here we have employee signature, general employee signature. Basically what it says on the tin there, and the same thing with leader signature. These are signature boxes. Where I would change something here is I would change it on the date boxes. You know, we have date and then we have date too. I like to name and tooltip these to relate to whose signature it was. So in this case, for this one, it's the employee signature. So I'll select that, and the name I'll put employee signature date. Copy and paste that below. That's a date, so we're going to format month, day, year, and go over to our format and do the same thing. Then we're going to come to the second one and see I'm already there, so I can set date like that. Go to my general. This is not the employee, this is the leader, so we change that out. Paste it in. Okay, so we've set up all of our form fields for the entire document here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to test them out to make sure that as the user tabs through them, it's going to do it in the proper order. So I'm going to go way to the top of my list here, and of course I can go here and I can cycle through them like this to see what order they're going in. And this will be accurate. You can actually test it as someone would see the document. I'm going to do a quick save here. You should save often as you're doing these, by the way. Acrobat Pro DC does have a bad habit of crashing and not really giving you any inkling of when it's going to crash, particularly on really, really busy documents. It likes to do it a lot in adjustment of reading order when we get to the reading order stage of things. So you just want to be mindful to save a lot of the time. Sometimes you'll do something and it won't let you undo it. You realize you did something wrong and you hadn't saved it recently, and you end up having to go back and do a whole page again, and that's not the most fun. So to go through it, cycle through it like we would if we were actually using it, if we were a user, I want to click preview. And so now this is what it would look like. And I'll shrink it up a little bit here. I'm going to select our first spot here, and I'm just going to hit the tab key and move through. And everything's looking in order. Note that on the signatures, the box doesn't disappear in white as if it's being filled out. That can throw you the first time you see it do that. There's a date, and see there's a drop down there where we can select a date. That's what that date format does. And we've gone through the whole thing. So we're good on that. But we have one thing. We filled in a dot, and we didn't really have a choice on that. We had to click somewhere to get it to start. And we don't want to leave that dot there. So how do we get rid of that dot? We go back to Prepare Form. And in our options, under More, we have Clear Form. And by clicking that, we reset anything that was filled in on the PDF. And we're going to save it. So that is Prepare Form, setting our form fields. In our next video, we are going to tag the document and begin working with arranging the tags so that everything will be functional. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next video.